April 29th, and let's get ready for some Truth Bomb.
Yeah.
All right, I am Jay Scott, aka Crypto Cowboy.
Hello, I am Sandy, and I'm the Freedom Faith Warrior. And if you hear some freedom in the background here of some jets flying over, I live in a freedom faith filled area. So there you are.
Nice. Those are jets, huh? Okay,
Those are
I have trucks, big trucks that roll by here, and I don't know if you can hear those. But anyways, we are here to talk about freedom, talk about truth, and we got a couple stories today. We're going to talk about, we're going to continue on our discussion last week about the Israeli Hamas campus issue, right?
That's right.
That's right. And I'm going to talk about big media, big business, how they use cover up a story about a doctor that wanted to prescribe ivermectin and was kind of shut down. So I'm going to go into a little bit of that. So
Yes.
why don't we go ahead and you want to tackle yours today?
Oh, we're just going to dive right in. Okay. So we sometimes feature major news outlets on here, media outlets, and I'm going to share my screen in a second. Um, it's kind of shocking to me. Um, let's put this up here. Sorry, Bernie. Let's talk about Bernie for a second. You know, a
Uh-huh.
lot of kids that are the millennials.
Oh boy, hold on. Now we don't hear her. Hold on, hold on.
Can you hear
Oh,
me now?
yeah, I don't know. Sharing wasn't working.
Okay. Well, you can go and find that news article yourself. I just had it pulled up and took it back down. But anyway, Bernie Sanders came out yesterday saying that he supports the pro Palestinian protests as he condemns all forms of bigotry, which I think is interesting considering he's Jewish, right? His parent, he's directly related to what happened over in World War II. So it's very interesting to hear his side of what he thinks, and he thinks that he's against all anti bigotry. And yeah, it's just is he's against all forms of it, and I'd like to know what you all think about that. I mean, he is Jewish, so I mean, why is he going in the middle? I mean, I'd say he's already always been a moderate, but pretty much, but he really is in the middle. His father's family was wiped out by Hitler. Uh,
Oh,
and anti-Semitism is disgusting to him, but yet he doesn't support what they're doing in Gaza, which I have to agree. I don't support that either. And what do you guys think? It's hard, but I think that these protests are giving way to people being violent and being able to act out on aggression. I don't think it's really about what they're saying it's about, because if you notice, the people that are causing the most damage are fully masked up. You can't tell who they are. So to me, that is somebody that doesn't want to their identity to be seen. But why? If you're going to be protesting something, why wouldn't you want your identity to be seen? You know,
right.
and then somebody was actually in UCLA, they were doing some graffiti, and one lady stood up against them and she started, trying to hit her and all that kind of thing. So, you know, and flipping everybody off. So, I mean, where has this gone? I mean, when you're protesting, I think, I mean, shouldn't there be some civility to it?
Hmm.
You know, shouldn't
Right.
shouldn't you have some civility in it? Because no one's going to listen to you if you're going to be aggressive and violent. It just doesn't even make sense, because then it just becomes a war between who's stronger, who has the most aggression and violence. So it now it's lost its point. You know,
Yeah.
now you're sorry about that. Now you can't, now you've lost your voice. So what do you guys all think about that? And please, you know, um, tell me what you think.
I wanted to
I
see if
think
I
that
could.
I I'm very upset at how these Jewish students have been treated. They are not given a voice. Every time they try to stand up and have their voice, they're actually harassed more than the other protesters, which makes no sense. I mean, that tells you where the campus stands. That tells you where their authorities stand, and I think that's wrong. You know, uh, I believe protests are okay. I don't. It's our amendment rights, right? It's part of our amendment rights. We're allowed to voice our opinion and not be, you know, censored supposedly, but yet it always seems like one side is trying to censor the other. It doesn't matter on what platform, what reasoning. We saw it happen during COVID. We're seeing it happen again now. And, once the violence and the aggression comes out, I think that's the end of the discussion. I don't think you're able to then voice your opinion in an intelligent manner. I've seen some really intelligent debates going back and forth, on platforms other than standing out in the street. I've seen it, on stages. And I think that's the best way to go, to debate those things and to talk about those things. Here is the problem. Here's the thing. I'm very fuzzy right now, aren't I?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Um, I don't think that what we do over here on our soil is really going to affect change. And I don't really think so. And I could be, I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. That's my personal opinion and my thoughts. And I'll tell you why. Because I haven't ever seen that it actually has changed our government's opinion, what they're doing, because we actually don't know what deals and treaties they're actually making over there. We really do not know
Right.
what the back and forth is about. They don't make that transparent, and that's the problem. Is we need more transparency in our government and between the governments, knowing exactly what they're talking about and what they have, said they would do.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing our American dollars going elsewhere for something that we have no idea what has been agreed upon. It's in these bills. Like, do you have time to read a 30,000 page bill? I don't. And they're
I
banking
don't.
on that. They're banking on you not having enough time to look into it. That's where the problem is. Congress has too many they need term limits. Period. We need to stop this type of government situation. But it's already in motion. Like, we're already in the midst of all this stuff, so you can't change anything midstream. So where do we start? Where do we start, Scott?
Well, I think just being aware that we don't know all the whole story, and pick and choose your battles. And again, I think unfortunately, a lot of the strings are being pulled higher up than our governments, and our governments are just puppets. And so I don't spend a lot of time, my energy, whining about one side or the other. And we're not. we're not really doing that. But and our government is really no different than anyone else's government, like in the Western
We
world.
used to
You
think
know,
so. We
Europe,
used to
Europe.
think
Oh yeah, we used to.
so.
And I think part of it is just year 100 years is about as long as any society kind of rules. And I would say that America has kind of been the dollar has been the world reserve currency for about 100 years. And, well, no, not quite 100 years, but we have also been the global military power, and things change. You just look at history and things change. So we're in the middle of it right now. And this is exactly what happens. History tells us that before the big change happens, there's a lot of chaos and a lot of
Right,
dissent.
right.
And you either have civil wars or you have uh, global wars, and we might be on the precipice of either one of those things. I really don't think civil war. Probably not, and I'll tell you why. And kind of going off topic here, but we'll get back.
Hmm,
Is the economy?
that's
Even though our
that's
economy is
okay.
rough, even though our economy is a little bit rough right now, and we've got higher interest rates, and are we in a recession or not? We're still better off. America is still better off than a lot of countries. And in fact,
You think so?
oh yeah, I mean Europe is worse. As far as their economies go, and their inflation and so on. And so, yeah, none of us are the world, even in China. China's really hurting. This is not a flourishing time for most of us. For the elite and for the rich, it's never been a better time because war and chaos make people really rich.
Absolutely.
They
That's why
capitalize on that.
that's
And
what that's the goal. Right.
yeah, that is the goal, to destabilize and then, uh,
Yeah.
you know, come in and pour money either in, the war machine, or
Yep.
pour money into a vaccine, or pour money into whatever they can save the day in. And the question that I have is how far are are they willing to go? I'm watching a show on Prime called Fallout. It is so funny because it's a show. It's a series based on a video game. And I've watched two of these series now based on video games. And I'm not a gamer. I don't play video games.
Right.
But it's funny. These shows are really funny, and they're always dystopian. They're dystopian. There's been a world war or something like that, and the
Right.
bombs drop, and then they're trying to rebuild or live in the catastrophic society that comes out of that. And what I was thinking was, in this one, and this one is really interesting because they're really talking about what could be happening right now, because there was this corporate greed that all over the world, the corporations got together and created this. Basically, they created this technology called vault tech, and they had all these vaults, and they were going to put humans in the vaults or whatever, so that they could wait out the time from the nuclear radiation, and then come out and repopulate the world and then be in charge again. And all the
Right.
corporations were in on it, and they were literally trying to suppress all technology so that they controlled all the technology. And then they actually started the war, and you know made the bombs drop and whatever. And I thought, man,
Right.
like, how far are the global elites willing to go? I mean, could they push us into this global war because they've got the plan? And I don't love diving down conspiracy theories, and that's at that level, I don't know if we'll ever know. I mean,
I'm sorry,
that,
but
that that's the
Hollywood has
ultimate
an
side.
Hollywood has an inside track. I hate to tell you. Uh, that it's somebody's
Maybe.
idea somewhere, and remember around COVID, that Gwyneth Paltrow movie, they had to
Mm-mm.
like not release it or not because it was
Oh,
about a virus that
oh, I think I
was
do.
going to
Yeah,
take out humanity.
yeah, yeah.
Like, well, duh, like that was bad timing. But
Right,
anyway, which makes you wonder is if the timing of the release of COVID was sooner than they thought, because I feel like Hollywood
right,
has an inside track that they release something so that it gets embedded up here so that
right.
it's in your head. and then
Right.
you are to like replay the roles that happen in the movie.
Yeah. You're
I'm
to
sorry,
replay
but
the
like I
roles.
think so.
No, that's actually a technique, a propaganda mind control
Yeah,
technique where you
exactly.
introduce a really bad situation and you introduce it sort of in a not the worst situation, right? And it kind of warms people up to the idea that this really bad thing could happen, right? So
Right.
they leak it in these small ways and kind of desensitize you to the horribleness of the reality of it. And Hollywood could,
Right.
what better way than to put it out in Hollywood? I was thinking
No,
about that the other day about the timing of COVID based on the I don't know what they called it, but the Gates Foundation and Bill Gates and all those the World Economic Forum, the WHO, all got together and had that pandemic dry run.
yeah.
Seems like 3 months before it was released. It was very very soon, and I thought,
Right.
how interesting is that they were preparing for it? It was almost like, okay, we've prepared for it, we got it figured out. Okay, let's pull the trigger. Let's make this thing happen.
Well,
Um,
right. But
I
I
don't know.
think they did it too soon, honestly. I think they accidentally did it too soon. I think the
Well,
wires got crossed because
yeah,
they
something
didn't
like
have,
that.
any of the stuff in place yet. And it didn't go as planned, I don't think.
Well, I think
But
that they tipped their hand. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. But like, if you think about it at that time, like what show was trending right then? Do you remember?
Oh no, what was it?
The Tiger King.
Oh, right, right.
Remember, everybody went crazy over the Tiger King. So what they did is they distracted us with
Distraction.
this
Look over here.
crazy story about tigers and the bad
Right,
guy versus the good guy, and then at the end you're like, really, was she the good guy or not?
right,
Because
right.
somebody died in it. So you're like, so they distracted us with this good guy, bad guy, but then it turns out they're both bad guys, right? Like,
Yeah,
like you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so crazy, crazy. And
Well,
then everybody's,
I
oh, did you get away with it? I visited her encampment at that time because I was down in Florida, and I was like walking on the perimeter of it because I was like, I
was it
wanted to see the
open?
tigers.
Was it
No,
open
it was
still? Oh,
closed. No, it was already closed because the show aired a lot later than all the actual happenings.
right.
And she had
Yeah.
already closed it down. But a lot of people stopped, like I did. There were so many people walking up and down. And the funny thing is, at the time, because of the way I looked, some of the people thought I was her.
Oh,
I was
right.
like, I am not Carol. Are you kidding me right now? Like,
Hey,
why would I
Carol.
be like, it was just because of my hairstyle, because I
Right.
was blonde. That was it. I mean, that's the only resemblance. I'm thinking, I am
That's funny.
not, oh my gosh. So anyway, it was just really funny, but that's how they distracted us. They distracted us with a story where really you didn't know who the bad guy really was.
Right.
Like, so, I mean, if you think about that psychologically, hmm, how does that translate into what we were going through?
Well, it's
They
all
don't want us to blame. They don't want us to blame anybody as the bad guy. Is what they were trying to do. I think. I think they were trying to get us to be distracted in a crazy story to where there is no bad guy. 100%.
yeah, maybe that's that narrative, right? They don't want us to. It's just a lot of
They don't
confusion, a
want us
lot
to
of
blame them.
dis- distraction, right? Don't blame them. Don't blame
Don't.
Carol,
Hey, it's not our fault. It's not her fault that she
right?
killed her husband.
That
But
that
hey,
that
it's
might be.
okay.
I think they really tipped their hand though in COVID this time. We'll see. I mean, the same thing will happen again, and they will convince
Well,
the
that's what they're
majority.
saying. They're saying they are saying that that's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
what disease
we're
X?
still on
Disease
my
X.
subject, but we're almost a year subject, so that's going to lead right in. But I just my 2 cents about Bernie. My problem with people that are so moderate and so in the middle that he's not really taking a stand for anybody. I mean, he's not. His own family was taken out by Hitler, and he's not taking a stand for his own people. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
answer me
it's
this
just
question
kind of
about
crazy.
about the whole thing. Why? why are the college campuses why are the college students protesting? I mean, really, why are they? One thing
Because
I
they
thought about.
believe that it's genocide. Okay, so this is the narrative is that it's genocide, that the Israelis are the ones causing genocide. They are not having any empathy for the people that got killed on October 7th. Not any. Zero empathy for them because they deserve it. Like these college kids thinks that those Israeli students and those Israeli young people and old people and the things that were done to them by Hamas is the Israelis' fault for years and years of stealing their land. So this is the problem. They have been fed all of this narrative. Okay. Now, I don't believe in war. Do I believe both sides have some responsibility? Yes, absolutely, I do. I do. Um, Netanyahu has made mistakes. I don't think everything's always been great, but they're trying to change who owns the land or who owned the land. They're trying to change history on the truth about it. So that's where the problem is when persuasion and propaganda come into play. You can make a whole group of people who who are too lazy to look up real history. Um, you're they're just going to be lemmings and be led to this thing. You know, here's the thing: one of those protesters, being Christian, don't realize that those people that were Islam, they would turn around and kill them if they were in their country. That's what's crazy about it. Is that they're getting them to do this to bring down our country, to bring down our systems, and but they're going to turn on them, and that's what these students don't understand. They will turn on them in a minute.
But first of all, it's not even our country. It's not even our country. That's the thing. It's not even the U.S. doing anything. In the '60s, we
Well,
had
it is
protests
though.
against the
We're
Viet.
supporting Israel.
Yeah,
That's what
okay.
the
We
problem
support
is.
everybody. We support a lot of places, and I just think that it's probably less students and more outside people with a
They're saying
narrative
that they're
that
feeding
is
them. Yes,
right. That
yes,
that that there's a lot of outside people that come on and they put these encampments there, right?
right.
And
Why are they wearing
they
COVID masks? Why?
and
Why are they
why
wearing masks?
why do all the tents look
It's
the same?
insane.
I wish I could find that picture. Not all of them, campuses are
Yeah,
like
all
this,
the
but there was
green
one where
ones.
all the
Mhm.
green tents were set up like identical. Like, let's see that somebody bought those tents, set them up for the encampment. It,
Of
it
course, I've
certainly
seen
wasn't.
is that people are saying it's George Soros. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't
They're
know.
saying that he's paying them. But that happened at the BLM. BLM. They were saying he was behind that as well. So, do we know that for to be true? I don't know. It's a rumor. It's a
I just
rabbit
think
hole.
he's
There's no
sort of a
conspiracy.
convenient scapegoat for anything like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I think.
So, who knows? But
But
that's
but I
the
want to get
problem.
back. I want to get back to the '60s, and the college campuses were protesting against the Vietnam War.
Mhm.
This was our government, our people, our sons and daughters and that were over there fighting a war across the continent that I don't know. It just seems to me like okay, I could see protests for that. '60s was a time of a lot of different protests, but it seemed to be more structured around like what we were doing all in our country. Now you can everything around the world. Yeah, we are Israel's biggest supporter and we fund them and all of that. But I don't know. It's frustrating because like why are the students doing this? Like what like because they're vulnerable and they're being brainwashed is what I think, And it's like
Well,
it's
we now realize the indoctrination started a long time ago, exactly what I talked about last week. After
right.
9/11, they started to say, "Okay, we're not going to do it like this. We're just going to come in and we're going to indoctrinate your children. We're going to we're going to start setting up systems in your country and to make it fall. So the divide and conquer, that's what it's about. And I feel so sad for all the students. I don't, not just one group, not just one ethnicity. And I feel bad for, war in itself. It is a war machine that innocent people die. And oops, collateral damage, whoops, wrong. That is so bad. And it does make me sad. And as you can tell, I'm not on, you know, a total one side, but at the same time, I have to stand for something, right? Like, what do I stand for? My thoughts are, I don't know all of the information to be able to make the best calculated decision, but I'm going to go with what our government's supporting, which is Israel. So, I mean, that's just going to be where I stand on it, and because of my faith, also, that has a little to do with it. So, I mean, I'm not, yeah, I'm a moderate, but I do have opinions, and I do have to stand on something. Like, if I'm just wishy washy in everything, like you have to stand for something or you'll fall for everything. So you have to be careful. You have to know who you are in here to be able to stand for something. If you don't know what your value system is and who you are, then you're just going to go off with, the popular vote, the popular crowd, the popular everything. You're not going to stand for what you need to stand for. And you have to know why you stand for it. And like I just told you, the reason I stand for it is for those two reasons. Our government stands for them, and my faith does. So those are the two reasons I would stand for something. And
Yeah, I think
so
that the
I'm no,
government.
I'm not, yeah, I'm not totally for our government all the time, but they have been an ally of ours, and that is why we are. And there is a reason that things have happened in history with those other nations. The other Arab nations don't want those people in their countries, and you have to look at that. Why? And it's because they've always caused chaos. So you have to look at that. You have to actually look at that. Like, why would other Arab countries not be embracing them right now at this time? They won't let them.
Yeah,
They won't let them come in their country.
yeah, I
Why?
know. The Palestinians. It's the saddest situation because
It really is.
they've been manipulated forever, and they are the Palestinian people, not Hamas.
Yeah, Britain has something to
Um,
do with it too. Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean that whole region, has just been, yeah, it's been the chaos center of chaos forever. But the Palestinian people, I have to agree, they nobody wants them. Why doesn't Iran, Egypt, whatever? Yeah, Iran can stand back and have its proxy wars and do whatever. But if they really wanted to stand up, the Muslim communities could do more. They can whine and protest and whatever. But
Going to because they're actually being controlled by Hamas.
well,
And
and
Hamas,
that's the sad part of it. And I get it that when people say I'm for the Palestinian people, yeah, they are getting the raw end of the deal.
they're
And
being collateral damage. However, they did vote in the Hamas as their leadership.
yeah, I
So
guess
that's
so.
the problem.
I guess they're
That's the
probably
problem.
desperate. They're like, whoever wants to help us out,
They
help
thought
us
they would
because
take care of them, but instead they use them as shields. It's
yeah,
sad. It's
yeah.
sad. And I do feel for them. I do. I'm not, again, I think any war is terrible, and I wish they would stop fighting. I wish we would have peace on earth. That's that's my stand, peace on earth. I just would love to have peace. But
Do the protesters, what do they talk about? Like, what do they want? Do they just want peace? Do they want you know? Are
well,
they? Is it death
that's
to
what I'm saying.
Israel or is
You're
it
not going to
peace?
protest peacefully. How do we think you want peace? You don't want peace.
Right.
You want what you want. If you think we can just stand there with a sign and say we are against this, we want this, and you think you're going to get your way just by doing that, then you've got some issues. So if you think a sign and you screaming and attacking other people that oppose you is going to help get you peace, no, that's
Yeah,
really
and
not
it
the
just
way of
like
conflict
students,
resolution.
I just want to send a message to the students. It's like just stop, just stop it. Like you're being led down this path. It's like you have
On
got,
purpose.
yeah, and on purpose. And
Mhm.
this is not an American issue. This is a global elite pulling the strings to sow chaos. Like you're just kind of
They're
falling
using
in.
you. You're a
You're just
pawn.
falling into that. You're just a
You're a
pawn,
pawn.
and it's sad
Mhm.
that your teachers, your faculty are leading it because they're pawns too, and
Yeah.
it's
If you
just
were
more
in
than
their
that.
country, you would be killed, just letting you know. Like that's what these kids don't understand. They would be killed. They
Yeah.
would be murdered also, along with all the rest of them, because
Look,
you're in their
it comes down to like if you want freedom and you're there to, like you want to free the Palestinian people or whatever. Okay, fine. Why don't you just there's so much that we can look at here. That we need to free ourselves from our government, from all the governments, and I'm not saying, protest against the government. I'm just saying you got to understand that this is bigger than the governments,
right.
and
This
it's
is
bigger than
oppression.
this is
This
bigger
is
than the
yeah.
Israeli thing. The,
This
you
is
know,
okay. This is oppression 101. This is oppression. There have been so many different ethnicities, civilizations, people. Oppression is number one. That's how they control us, is with oppression. We are slaves to our systems. And that is the problem. That's the problem. We are oppressed. Like, we don't think we are. We think we're free, but we're still being oppressed. You know, women didn't even have a voice here in this country until the 19, not even, 100 years ago. Could we even vote here? So we were being oppressed. Like, so women were being oppressed. Different ethnicities were being oppressed from the very beginning. So oppression is the problem. So oppression is the problem. So period.
yeah. So let's just end on the fact that instead of wasting your energy on protesting against stuff across the world, focus on yourself. Focus on getting
Right.
healthy. If you're out smoking dope and just protesting, for because your friends are and what everybody else is. No, you need to understand that your own government. It's not about who they stand for in Israeli. It's about how are you treated as an American citizen and what can you do about it. You can be aware that you're not told everything, especially from your professors, your faculty, and don't follow them like lemmings. You need to get
Right.
strong and healthy. You need to understand that you need to look at a different financial system because if your money's stuck in the government, they're going to control you. So look into cryptocurrencies. Look into being radically healthy so that you can
That's right.
not be a lemming and just follow along. That you can take your stand, become an entrepreneur, make
That's right.
make your own
Right.
money,
Out
make
from
your own
underneath
widgets,
the
sell
system.
something
That's right.
productive,
That's right. Get it
so that
out
you don't
from
have to be
underneath.
controlled by
Mhm.
taxes and whatever the government kind of 9 to 5 job that's out there. These are the things
Right.
that we stand for in Freedom Life 3.0. Living
That's
the
right.
freedom life is to
That's
take
right.
your own power back, not just sit
Right.
around and protest. To me, that's not powerful. Following
No.
a faculty
No.
person that was put there by the global elite to sow chaos, that doesn't make
Right.
a lot of
And
sense.
also, don't be downtrodden. Because here's the thing, a lot of people go, oh, well, there's nothing we can do. So
Right.
they don't do anything. So they just sit in their house and they do their thing and they don't do anything. I'm still all about, being successful personally, making your goals, still meeting your goals. Even though all of these things are happening, you can take control of your life and like Scott said, your finances and make your goals. Make your dreams come true You know, I mean, the world is still going to turn. You know, it's still going to, the sun's still going to come up, the moon's still going to go up and down, and you have to make it happen. Like, you can't just sit back and go, well, everything's messed up, so I might as well stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Keep going.
Well,
Just
and I don't
keep
think
going.
we're saying, yeah, don't stop, but sitting around protesting isn't effective either. That's
No,
just a
you're
waste of
you're
time for
not
the most
working on your
part.
goals right then. You're working on somebody
Right.
else's
You're
goals.
working on
Just to
somebody
let
else's
you know,
goals. Yeah, I like that.
you're helping to fund someone else, not yourself. Because at
Yeah,
the
if
end
you
of the day, what are they going to do for you?
yeah, if you think
Just
you're being
curious.
powerful and that you're using your voice, you're
Right.
not. You're not.
No.
Don't fool yourself. You know,
Yeah.
work on yourself and your family. And that's not to be selfish, because if you're working on yourself and you're helping your family, then you and your family can help other people, like physically, like hand out food or give somebody a
Right.
blanket or whatever. Standing on the corner shouting is
It's not helping.
thinking that you're taking a stand. You're not.
Definitely not.
All right. Well, let's
All
talk
right.
about even more uplifting subject.
Uplifting. Here we go.
I don't know. Here's an article. Let's see. No, we're not. Okay. Why not? Why aren't we seeing this? Let me see.
I don't know. That's a nice landscape, though.
We're seeing a nice little landscape there.
Yeah, I like that. What is that?
Okay. Well, we'll just not use that. Okay. So the article that I wrote was called "Breaking Free from Manipulation: How to See Through the Smoke of Corporate and Government Agendas."
Uh-oh.
So what I've been really focusing on lately is the trio of government, business, and pharma. And when those three get together, there's a lot of power. This is what COVID was. This was those three entities coming together to pull the wool over our eyes and
Oh, yeah.
to make a lot of money, and to test out how far their power can go. So I want to talk about Dr. Laura Bowden. Let me see if this works. No, probably not going to work. Yeah, okay, there we go. But I'm not showing the thing I want. Okay, back to me
I'm seeing something. I
and
was seeing
you.
something, no? No?
Well, I wanted to show a little web page, but about Dr. Laura Bowden. So
Oh,
she
okay.
is a Stanford trained ENT specialist from Houston, and she had treated over 6,000 COVID patients, and
Wow.
she wanted to use ivermectin. She had
Oh,
seen its use before and had, no ill effects and some medium to good responses in various diseases, but COVID.
right.
Did you know that ivermectin actually won a Nobel Prize in 2015? It won a Nobel Prize for, I don't know how
In
these things work,
2015.
but in 2015 it won a Nobel Prize for, outstanding drug or whatever they do in those kind of
Right.
prizes for its effectiveness in various treatments. And it was various treatments. And this is the thing. They're One of the treatments were veterinarians using it for parasites in animals,
Right.
but it was also used in humans for
For
parasites.
Ebola. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for Ebola and for different things. And
Yeah.
so the memes started to come out saying, "You're not a horse, you're not a cow, don't use ivermectin." And this was the FDA that put this meme out.
That's
And
why
I wish,
people had to go to the farm store to get it for the horses, though, because they took it off the shelves. Did
yeah,
you
I
know
mean,
that?
the FDA had, I don't, yeah,
Hmm.
and I don't know if there was like an official ban, but they basically said,
No, there
don't
was.
use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, people like pharmacies wouldn't do it. And so like Dr. Bowden, she would write prescriptions out, and the pharmacist would deny it. And she's like,
Yeah.
how can you do that? Like, you know, and so then it got worse and worse as she started to talk about it more, and she got ridiculed, she got harassed, she got death threats, and
Right.
she's like, this is unacceptable. And so she actually sued the FDA and said that you are inserting yourself in medical practices that between a doctor and a patient, and you don't really have the efficacy, or you haven't studied it long enough or whatever. And it's interesting because I would have thought, well, the FDA could come back and say, well, we are the governmental control responsible for this. We do our research, we have doctors, and we can make this ruling. But she lost. She won actually. So the FDA actually lost this, and this came out after. This wasn't that long ago when the ruling came down that FDA had to go back and take down all of their anti-ivermectin posts and material. So I thought that was really interesting. And this is happening a lot now. We're seeing a lot of this post-COVID truth come out actually,
Yep.
and this is a great example of the trio and
Yeah.
the global elite doing whatever they can do to
Yes.
make money. Right? Ivermectin was a very low cost, probably generic drug. The drug
Right.
companies, pharmaceuticals, didn't make any money off of that. What do you think the chances are that they got together with the government and said, look, we need to stamp this out? Like, we're going to make billions of dollars in the vaccines. Don't let this stupid little ivermectin,
Mhm.
interfere with us. The whole thing was this gigantic narrative that, some of it was planned. I think a lot of it was just bumbling of, unknown, this kind of virus, this novel coronavirus, the body had never seen it for. So we've never really been there, at least in most people's lifetimes. And
Right.
they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And I get that. And I get that, some people were doing the best that they could. But also, a lot of people took advantage of this situation because this was new and there wasn't a lot of science behind it. Like,
Right.
like, what should we do? They guessed and then they lied about it. And that's what really bothers me is that they lied about it. Like the whole vaccine thing was about making billions of dollars for the pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies had been working on this mRNA technology for years and years. Yeah. But they also had a lot of data that showed there were a lot of problems. There were a lot of problems with this mRNA vaccine. I do air quotes because it wasn't a vaccine, it was a gene therapy. It wasn't a vaccine. It didn't look like or do anything that a normal vaccine does. They call it a vaccine because that was a good sounding narrative that people would say, oh, well, we know what vaccines do, or, supposed to, eradicate diseases. That's what it'll do. This wasn't a vaccine, but it was the narrative that they pushed forward to make it more palatable. But all of the data that they had collected that was not good, that showed a lot of adverse effects from it, they didn't talk about it. They suppressed it, and now it's coming out. So to me, this is the perfect example. It's also sort of my awakening because, as I mentioned before, I bought into the whole COVID thing, hook, line, and sinker.
Right.
Couldn't wait
Right.
to get the jab. Couldn't wait to have somebody save me, and
Yeah.
yeah. And so once some of this started coming out, I was like, oh, and it just like I needed that. I needed some. I suppose that had I looked closer earlier on, I would have found
Right.
some more
Do you
unanswered questions.
do you remember the news article that came out about those doctors speaking in front of the White House and
Hmm.
how they were protesting
I
things?
remember that.
Do you remember
I remember
them? They're called
watching that.
America's Frontline Doctors, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
at the time, here's the problem. Like, if you pull them up right now, and here's a problem. Somebody somebody created their webpage, right? And I would have to say the author of it is not them because they're definitely within the first two paragraphs they have to mention Tea Party, Trump. It's insane. Whoever put this Wikipedia together about how Simone Gold, who was the doctor that was one of the ones on the lawn there with a bunch of other doctors saying hydrochloroquine,
Right.
Ivermectin works.
Yep.
You guys are not listening to what we're saying. But if you go to look them up, unfortunately,
Yeah.
on Wikipedia, which I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah. Wikipedia is
Um,
one of those things like, it's still like everybody goes there, but I don't know, it isn't the end all be all. I think we all know that
yeah,
it's
I'm
the
not
internet.
sure who. I mean, again, not that I don't think that they care that people know that they're part of, the Tea Party Patriots or Trump, or I don't know if
Well,
they
that is
believe it or not.
interesting. That sounds like Wikipedia FUD,
Yeah,
fear,
yeah,
uncertainty, and
exactly. And
doubt.
so they're trying to still disparage them in some way and make it political, which they're not. Like, those doctors were not political. That wasn't what they were saying.
Right.
They really, truly were saying, hey, listen, you're not listening.
Right.
This works. We've
And
tried
well,
it on
and
our
it,
patients.
why are
Yeah,
you listening? They're like, why aren't you listening to us? Like, we have thousands of patients.
right.
We are the frontline doctors. Thousands of
Yeah.
patients, and yeah, this you know
So with
this virus is
disclosure,
like unknown.
they're the ones that I went to look for the stuff from. I was like, because you could buy it. You could talk to one of their physicians at the time and get a whole pack, anti-COVID pack, I guess
Oh
you'd
yeah,
say.
I got my pack. I am ready to roll, man.
So,
I am not
so
going
that's
back
what I'm
into the
saying. So,
mainstream.
I mean, they were the first ones to come up with that. I know that there's more out there now, but they were the first ones
My
because
guy is
they
Dr. Peter
truly were the
McCullough.
first people.
Dr.
Yeah.
Peter McCullough works for the wellness. I think it's the wellness company, which is where I got my drugs. But yeah, it's anyway. So like Dr. McCullough, Dr. Bowden, these were the doctors that they lost their jobs. They got ridiculed. They risked everything because they're like, I am seeing this with my own eyes. How can I like ignore it? Even though there was massive pressure for them to look the other way and take the narrative. And it's really sad that some of the most powerful, educated, smart people that really wanted to help a lot of people just got flattened by the system, by the narrative. And to think that the whole world bought on this, Sandy, that's what kills me too. It's like
Yeah.
not just like a few pockets, the whole freaking world. So this
Yeah.
tested their power. The global elites are like, oh, we got the whole world to buy in on this deal. And the fear is it, man. Fear and money. And what's interesting is that to get all these parts and pieces to work together is kind of a miracle because to get anybody to get the whole world to kind of buy in on this, man, you had to have some powerful strings being pulled,
Yeah.
and but I think it was the narrative, like people were so afraid they were going to demand that their governments and the doctors fix it, and that's our mentality. It's like, fix us, give us a pill, give us a shot that and we've been molded into this in society. Like we almost have no choice because it's the way we were born, the way we were raised up. We respect authority. We must respect doctors, government. We're raised that way. So to go against it is really hard. And even now, it's still hard. But I do think that they really tipped their hand, and that a lot of people like me were kind of like, oh wow, and it's like once you wake up to some of this, to a little bit of it, most of us, definitely me, you then are like, oh my god, there's like this little crack, and then you're like, well, what else out there is not the truth, or am I not being told about?
Exactly.
And so
Right.
then you get people like me and you, little old whatevers, and
Right.
we're gonna get on here and just start blabbing about it.
Yeah.
And we need you to help us. We need you to spread the news about this podcast and about others that talk about freedom. Come see our show. Let us know what you think, and then tell other people that are questioning some of this too. It's like we want to hear more of what you agree or disagree with or want to talk about. But it's about this freedom life. It's about waking up to it, and what can you do? And again, is if you've listened to any of our prior shows, we're about internal power. We're about standing
Do,
up for ourselves.
yeah. Well, do you know Simone Gold? She is sentenced to prison for her role in the Capitol the insurrection.
Well, there's another thing.
She's
There was
not,
another
she
brainwash,
tried
but
another thing, but that's what's so crazy is it's like I don't know. It's like, okay, I knew that she had some things going on. I just didn't know what they were about, and I just looked it up as we were talking, and
that's pretty funny.
um,
If that's
you know,
true, it's like come on, she's like,
wow,
some people are addicted to like trauma and drama. It sounds like
yeah,
she might be like
yeah.
going seeking out wherever
Well,
it is because
let's see, she entered the U.S. Capitol building. Oh
yeah,
wow.
I mean, come on, people. I
I
mean,
mean, wow.
that's a whole other topic. We've had shows about that. We'll probably even talk about that more. I mean, the whole election thing, and it's still in the news. There's still trials about it. But yeah,
Yeah,
if you're going to
and
be
she was
persuaded to
on.
actually go inside of a place you shouldn't be, you know.
Yeah, she definitely got into the whole everything. So,
But she
I
probably
mean,
was pissed off about the government, and
see
shutting her
how
down. And
easily you can be led to, think, politics do lots of things to you. That's why you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that who you're standing behind and what they're standing for is 100% what you stand for and what you're standing behind, because you can get led right down a trail that is not going to be
well,
good for
yeah,
you,
and
because
yeah, and because like I know you told stories about like you get behind a political situation or whatever, and you're all for this, but you don't realize on the other side of this are completely opposite things. And so if you stand for this, you need to stand for this too, and maybe that doesn't make sense. And so it is a slippery slope. It's like like we're not always going to be perfect about this, but
no,
it is something that we're trying to make sure we're a little bit consistent. And right now, and it's almost easier for me in a way because I kind of blame the global elite. It's like I don't spend a lot of energy on Republicans this, Democrats this, or even
right,
the government. But I
right.
am an American, so I'm affected by it. So I can't help but be caught up in some of it. But my first thought is
I think
it's
where we're at I think where we're at as a country, which is so sad to me. Do you know how many people I have already heard going, I don't know if my vote even counts. I don't even know if it actually gets counted. I don't even know if, that person that I'm voting for is, for real.
yeah,
Are they just an actor in this whole farce of of a show, you
yeah,
know? I mean, you do have to sit back and go, but you can be discouraged and frustrated. But again, like we keep on impressing, is that what are you doing in your own life? Like, how are you taking care of this? Your vessel, your surroundings, your environment, your relationships. You have to stand for those things first, because one, we're not going to be able to make a change so instantaneously. I think it's a process. Once you get awoken, like you were woke up there, Scott, to what's really happening, then you make the changes in your own life. Then you go to the next step of trying to interact and change the environment and who you talk to and what you talk about. You know, how is my today going to make a positive impact on someone? How I act today. And if I'm frustrated about the government, I'm frustrated about all these things, I'm not going to have a very good outlook, and I'm probably not going to have a very good conversation with somebody else. So
right,
you have to be totally aware of that. You cannot let this stuff affect who you are.
right.
You can be frustrated, upset about it, but then you make a plan on what you need to do to make the changes. You know, you might come up with a great idea on how we can change these things. You might be able to go in front of a whole group of people to help them to come along with you to change these things. Who are you in the process? you know but you can't let it dictate who you are and the purpose of your life. You have
Yeah.
to actually be aware of those places that you can change and those places that you don't have any control over. So
Yeah,
you have to be aware of that.
yeah. So Vincent says talking politics is a disaster.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
and yeah, and that's why we try to keep it at the higher level. Like, yeah, we're not picking sides
Yeah, we're
necessarily.
talking about these things, but it's only because they are penetrating the way that we talk to each other and think about. Like if I turn on the TV tonight, I'm going to see something that has to do with the campus thing. I'm going to see something that has to do with COVID. I'm going to see something that has to, so we have to talk about it to get to vent it, to get, you know,
Well, in the
to
election,
actually try to, put it together in our heads. Because if we just keep it there and we feel frustrated and oppressed about it,
yeah.
then we're going to get depressed.
And I
Like
would just
that's
say,
how depression
that it's,
works.
the easy way, this is going to sound harsh, but the easy way out for some of this stuff is to go protest, is to externally,
Yeah.
push it out or whine about it or talk about it on social media because, trying to improve yourself, trying to look inside is hard. It is hard. But start there, people. Start there first. Start inside and get your body healthy, get your mind healthy.
Well,
The biggest thing that I'm trying to focus on, and it is hard, folks, but it's to get rid of anything that's going to cloud your mind. So if it's alcohol, if it's marijuana, if it's prescription drugs, if it's coffee. Now, I love my coffee, but I'm cutting back on caffeine because that's just an external
right.
chemical,
Yeah.
they can be healthy, but I'm trying to like be focused. I'm trying to I want to see the whole reality. I don't want to be numbed out anyway.
Right.
I want to see what's going on. And sometimes it's really hard. I mean, that the stark reality when you're not numbed out sometimes can be really hard, but you got to start there and then expand out and then say, okay, look, when I'm as the healthiest I can be and I'm clear and I'm aware what's going on, what can I do? And
Right.
if talking about it is, in fact, we want to create a community. We do want to talk about it, but we want to continue to structure it and talk about, well, what can we do to make
What
ourselves
can
healthy? What can we do to opt out of some of these systems, opt out of the financial system through
Right.
crypto, or opt out of traditional pharmaceutical care? Talk about alternative medicines. We don't have to play the game. There are ways to get out of it, to shelter yourself from being controlled by the global
That's
elite and
right.
by the pharmaceutical companies. So help spread the word that we want to create a community of people that want to live the freedom life.
Yes, but can I'd like to say end on 2 cents. A lot of people think the protests are actually impacting their campuses and their schools, but that's not true. The truth is those people that were in leadership already were had that mindset before you even started protesting. They already felt that way. That's why these kids were indoctrinated with that with that being the protest to have, right? So I just want you all to know that you think, oh, but those protests are working. They're not. The people already felt that way before the kids even stepped on the campus. So just to let you know, in leadership, they were already placed there. They were already in that place and already had that agenda and already had that in their head that that's how they felt about this whole thing. So just so because you go, well, then protests work. They don't. That protest is just going alongside of already what the leadership in those campuses
And
felt
it's
and
doing
thought.
exactly what they want. It's just sowing chaos and
Exactly.
dissent. That's what they want.
Exactly.
That's what they
Exactly.
want.
So
It's not about
just
your voice
no,
being heard. It's not about
no,
that.
no,
All
and
right,
that's sad.
folks.
It's sad. But
It
thank
is
you, Vincent,
sad,
for
but
joining us.
we'll hear. Yeah, thanks, Vincent, for chiming in. Spread the word, and we'll hear your voice. We want to hear your voice,
That's right.
and we want to talk about constructive ways to, to deal with it.
Right.
Anyways, thanks for joining, everybody. Appreciate you being here. If you're watching
Thank
on the
you.
replay, go ahead and put a comment in there.
Okay.
Let us know what you
All right,
like, what you
everybody.
want to hear about, and we'll see you next week on Truth
Let's
Bomb.
peace
Bye.
out.